Reflect Orbital delivers a spot of sunlight on demand with a constellation of in-space mirrors. Precise area, they claim 5-kilometer diameter and up, highly localized. Configurable, in which you can adjust the intensity and location. On demand, order sunlight instantly in approved locations without new infrastructure. Now, before you say, wait, now it's already happening, it is not already happening, but they've got 2 satellites either up now or scheduled to be up and start doing not dramatizations, but testing, more than testing, actually, demonstrating to potential clients this year. And we'll get to the schedule they've got here soon. Precise and uniform, dynamic, no ground infrastructure. Yeah, easy setup and onboarding, they say, for the client who calls up and says, yeah, I'd like some, it's 11 p.m. here and it's kind of dark. Can I get some sun? And
the setup basically involves you put out the chaise lounges, grab some iced tea.
Yeah. What's possible with a spot of sunlight, they say? Energy, expand solar potential, making clean power dispatchable and available when you need it. Now, if you dig into their actual claims about how much solar they're going to be able to generate, it's quite low. So I'm surprised that they're highlighting that, because even they know that that's not the main thing that they're actually trying to do. What they're really trying to do is light up everyone, light up the Earth. Response, illuminate disaster zones and search and rescue missions. That sounds admirable. That's a use case that sounds admirable. Industrial, extend working hours, improve safety, light remote sites. And agriculture, tailor growth cycles, extend seasons, boost yields.
Confuse birds.
Confuse everyone. The big picture, sunlight is the most valuable and powerful resource in the solar system. About 2.2 billion times more sunlight misses the Earth than hits it, which means humanity can only use a small fraction of our sun's power. And our constellation intercepts the solar energy R, that being Reflect Orbital's constellation, intercepts the solar energy that misses us and enables humanity to use it.
I'm pretty surprised that number is that low, given that
2.2 billion
sun
times
is radiating in all directions and the Earth isn't close to it.
I feel like they just
tiny.
Picked a number with a bunch of zeros out of a hat. Like, let's go with this one. It sounds plausible. I agree. It seems too low. Okay, so check. This is their plan. Our constellation of markets expand over time, in which constellation is their satellites. In 2026, 2, 2027, 36. In 2028, they're hoping for over 1,000. By 2030, over 5,000. And by 2035, over 50,000 of their satellites, space mirrors, going around the Earth, allowing people on Earth to call them up and say, hey, I'd like a spot of sunlight here. It's just about that time. So let's see what happens when under light. When you click on light here, light without limits, because of course, imagining that we have limits is so, yesterday, 20th century, human, realistic. Light without limits, they say. Light is evolving. Interesting claim. Smarter, more sustainable, endlessly accessible. Reflect Orbital delivers large area lighting after dark for any use case.
Yeah. Light is evolving. Come on. Lighting is evolving. Right. Could make that.
Right. Okay. So they do. Oh, wait. Civilizational. They've also got civilizational. What's possible with a spot of light? Replace streetlights, reduce light pollution, enhance urban life. Yeah. Enhance urban life, because that's what cities need, is to have every moment feel exactly the same.
Yeah. I'm going to invest in companies that make eye masks if this happens.
God. Okay, so they just continue with the same kinds of claims. We're launching the future of sunlight. I just like the number of crazy taglines in here.
Hubris is incredible.
Really remarkable. And then we're going to go to their facts, which is maybe the most damning part of the whole site. And I also read some of the press on these guys. It's a couple of young guys with some mechanical engineering background, who saw a need, apparently saw an opportunity, and
plucky young sociopaths. I'll go there.
Fine. I think actually the problem is, I think it's worse than that, because I don't think the techno-hubris, the techno-optimism, the techno-optimism that we see behind so many of the really egregious errors of this age mostly can't be attributed to sociopathy. It's attributed simply to hubris, which is a much more common And, both sociopathy and hubris are human, but it's worrying that, I think it's attributable to a very common problem, which is I don't know anything about evolution, right? Like I don't know anything about biology, anything about evolution. I think that we live in a clockwork universe, a machine-like universe in which all the things are like machines that I do know how to deal with. And therefore, all I have to do is switch a few things and voila, I will have solved a problem. So, maybe sociopaths, but it's not required here.
Well, I don't think it's required, but I do think that it falls out of the game theory pretty naturally. Because if you imagine, this is not an inobvious idea. The idea that...
It was actually proposed in the 70s first.
So there you have it.
If I have that right.
So the point is, who do you expect to find deploying this? You expect to find people who find nothing objectionable about it. In other words, game theoretically, this is a tragedy of the commons where if, 50 modern folks or companies have thought about this idea and rejected it because of the implications, you expect to find the company that didn't reject it is most likely to be driven by people who have some defect that results in them not seeing it.
No, but there's an assumption built into what you just said, which I don't think is right. What you said was if 50 companies have considered this idea and rejected it because of the implications, and what I believe I have gleaned from going through some of what they've got online and some of what the media has written up about them is that this is only now technologically feasible. So to the degree that this has been considered before, it has not been possible.
No, I know that, but
so it's not. A lot of other companies rejected it, and that demonstrates that they weren't sociopaths.
I was imagining 50 companies in modern times when it has become possible, right? Let's say post.
Maybe I don't see any evidence of that, but maybe
post Starlink, post Starlink, where we now know that it is possible for a corporate entity to deploy an array of globe-covering satellites. I mean, I think maybe that's the second of them. There was a failed project to deliver, I think it was GPS. What was its name? I can't remember. Ethereum? It can't be because that's the currency. But something along those lines was deployed. It failed for economic reasons, and I think the satellites were either repurposed or had to be pulled down. But anyway, the point is, we now know we've got a successful entity that has deployed a net of satellites, globe covering. And so the point is, well, what else could you do if that technology is now in the range of a corporate power? And so I'm imagining a lot of people have run through this idea because it's obvious. And many of them will have rejected it for business reasons. The risk here of the investment it takes to initiate such a project and the likelihood that it fails. I mean,
well, I guess my objection to you deciding, because you and I can see so many obvious reasons not to do this, and to do everything we can to get in the way of anyone's ability to cause us to lose our night sky. I mean, we write about this in Hunter-Gatherer's Guide, right? Like it is one of the fundamental things about living on the planet that we do, that we have night, and we have no idea what all that means for who we are and how we make meaning in the world. But it's not at all clear to me that what is clear to us about the value, much of which is implicit in having darkness, in having a night sky, in having things that cannot be technologically lightened, is obvious to most people. And, those things that aren't obvious to the techno-optimists, that just because it's not obvious to them doesn't make them sociopaths. In fact, if it were obvious to them and they were ignoring it, that's evidence of sociopathy.
Okay. So you've just won the argument, and then I'm going to take it back from you.